Welcome to Foto Dojo, where you can explore making comics, cartoons, characters, stories, and imaginary worlds. With me, Adam Fotos, creator of Dragon and Goat, a comic about a dragon and a goat. Plus, he's a professor of humanities and friend of huge manatees. Okay, so if you're going to be starting off making comics or making cartoons, you need a few things in your tool bag. And my tool bag happens to look like this. It's Doraemon. Pretty awesome cartoon from Japan. And so if we open up my Doraemon pack, we can see all the sort of drawing things that I've got sort of ready. And so I'll just show them to you so you can kind of see what I use. This is a ruler that I use for making my panels, my grids for my actual comics, and it's great because it's transparent. It's got really clear and easy lines to read. So if you're not using like templates to make your comics, like I'll have available on the Dragon and Goat website, you can use a ruler like this to really easily line off a grid when you're actually storytelling with your words and pictures. Now, my favorite thing about comics is that it's super easy, super cheap to make amazing stuff. You don't have to have a bunch of fancy tools to make great work. The most basic thing that you need is a pencil and a piece of paper. And that's really all you need to draw your comics. You don't even need really like a ruler, right? Like I can, sort of rough out like a panel. A lot of independent alternative comics artists, they don't care about straight lines. You don't have to. And I really suggest not getting hung up on things being perfect as you're starting off in your work. Just keep it loose, keep it fresh, and just sort of draw whatever comes into your mind. So basic pencil is good. Of course, you'll need to sharpen it. I suggest a Bulbasaur sharpening pencil sharpener here, so you can get a nice even point. I like wood pencils versus mechanical pencils because you can go from thin to thick, but I also really use mechanical pencils more when I'm actually drawing comics. This is a nice one. It's a 0.7 millimeter lead, so I like this guy, and you can see it gives you like a crisp, even edge. But with a wooden pencil, you can go from thin to thick and thin again, like really nicely, and in ways that you can't really do with a mechanical pencil. So if you're just starting off, wanting to get your feet wet with drawing, cartooning, and comicking, stick with the wood pencil. I don't know if it's really earth friendly, but the wood pencil works pretty great for that. Another wood pencil you can use, it's a little bit darker lead. It's a softer lead, is the Ebony Pencil. It's going to give you a darker line. This one's not great if you're going to be inking, sort of drawing over with a pen over your lines, but it's cool. It's cool too. And then as we get a little bit further in the video lessons, as we're sort of marching on into some more in-depth things about comics, I'll also talk about the blue lead pencil. But this is a sort of nice thing you can check out. These are a little bit more delicate of a lead. I don't know how much that's showing up, but blue lead's nice in production of your comics because you don't have to actually erase. So that gets us to the next thing you need, which is a good eraser. So in terms of erasers, you have a few options. So I like a white eraser it's like a vinyl eraser, so it erases really cleanly, so you can get rid of your pencil lines very easily once you've inked your work. They're producing some really nice like black ones as well, and I've had pretty good luck with these. These seem to come with like inking pen sets. I think they're like Faber-Castell. I'm not really sure what the brand is, but that works fine. I also like kneaded erasers. These work pretty good too. They're also like great stress relievers, so if you are feeling a little tense, you can always just take it out on your kneaded eraser if you need to, sort of like work it through. It'll get dirty and then you can just kind of fold it over. I tend to go through these vinyl erasers very quickly, like erasing a lot, and so the kneaded eraser just doesn't seem to do that, but you can it gets kind of dirty when it's picking up the pencil lead, so you can just kind of like pull it and like that. They're also like pretty cheap, and they usually, let's see, look like this when you pick them up at the store. And then you can also, what's really cool is you can kind of shape them into little characters. So if you need like a model all of a sudden for your drawing, you can kind of sculpt your character out of the kneaded eraser. Right, so that can be a good little drawing model for you to draw from, which, well, let's do that maybe like a little bit later for another video. Okay, so we've got the eraser, we've got the pencil, and then as we get a little bit further, I'll talk more about inking, which is something that I really enjoy to do with my comics, but you don't have to. And I think like if you're just starting off, don't worry about inking yet, because it can be another complicating layer to your work. This is just a regular ballpoint pen. These have really nice thin lines, and what's cool about ballpoint pens, so you can go from thin to thick or light to dark really easily. So you can get some nice tonal qualities. That's like shading and doing that sort of thing. It's really nice to do with a ballpoint pen. The basic inking pen that I used for a long time were these Micron pens. And so the Micron pens come in a sort of range of sizes. You can pick up a set pretty cheaply at an art supply store. Try to find like an independent one if you can. And certainly don't go to Hobby Lobby. But you can see here they have different widths. So the 03 is smaller, the 05 is thicker. So you can sort of step down to 0.005 for a really, really thin line, and then the 05 is a thicker line, and then the 08 is even thicker. As you can see there, mine are kind of worn down right now. Important thing to note with your Micron pens, make sure to keep them capped, because if you leave them uncapped for a little bit of time, they'll dry out pretty quickly. So those give you clean, even lines. You do this after you've drawn for a little bit. You want to ink over your pencil lines, and then you erase it away. I'll show you that a little bit later. Some other like fancier pens that I've really been digging lately have been these guys. And so this is a Tombow pen. You can get it from Jet Pens, and it's fantastic because it's got this like rubber tip on it. They last a pretty good stretch, like for inking. You can go thin to very, very sort of like thick. They do run out, so like mine kind of like fade these days, but honestly the faded look can be kind of cool if you really think about how you're using it. So it's a sort of rubber tip they've got there. Unfortunately, you can't refill these on your own, so they're kind of disposable, which I don't really enjoy. I'm gonna maybe try to like hack one open and turn it into a reusable one at some point. We'll see if I can figure that out maybe this summer. But this is a pen that I really, really love. I've had this for probably like I don't know, like 8 years now. So this is a brush pen. This one, I think I got this one at a art supply store in DC, but it gives you a really nice thin to thick line. This is sort of my main pen. I do all my first inking with this, and I'll always start sort of drawing like dragon and goat. I'm just gonna do a quick one of a dragon here. So I always use like kind of the brush pen when I'm drawing them, because I can get a lot of like sort of expressive thin and thick lines there with those guys, and it gives me like a sense of like shadows and depth, especially for characters. So then as I go into a little bit more of the drawing for like panels, I'll switch pens as I go. But usually this is my character one that I'm drawing. Lots of my buddies and taking them on their adventures. But you get a lot of sort of nice different line qualities with the brush pen. The cool thing about this one is that it's refillable. So it's like a sort of brush tip, and then it fills up with the ink that you have in here. Now this one comes from, and this is a Kuretake pen, so it comes from Japan. You can get these at Jet Pens as well. They're fairly I guess kind of expensive, $30, but really, you know, you think about the pen lasting 30 years, or sorry, about not 30 years yet, but about 8 to 10 years already. I mean, it's doing pretty good. I don't have to clean it that much, and it has cartridges that you can buy, but I also refill it with some ink that's used for Repeatograph, the Ultra Draw. You can actually refill these pens, which is really cool. So you know, I really encourage you to just, you know, get a very quick and easy store of supplies before we get started here. You know, find a pencil, and then grab an eraser. You know, you got a French fry eraser, that works great. If you're more into hamburgers, you know, maybe you can get a hamburger eraser too. Have a pencil sharpener handy, and then also some paper. Now, you can go nuts with comic paper, but if you're just starting off, just get a ream of regular copy paper. You know, have your parents pick it up from work if they can run into the office or something. I'm sure they could do that, and that's not illegal at all. But you know, otherwise you can maybe buy a ream of paper for pretty cheap. As we get into more like sort of heavy duty comicking, if you want, you can always pick up a nice sort of stack of Bristol Board. This one is specifically for comics because it's lined and it's ruler ready. I'll show you how to use this at some point, but you know, you don't have to do this yet, and this is a lot more expensive, and I really discourage you from getting anything that you're worried about drawing on, because that's going to keep you from practicing. And really, when we're cartooning, you got to draw. You just got to draw over and over again, and you want your paper to be cheap, you want it to be accessible, and you want to just, you know, be sure that you're drawing as much as possible, because that's how you're going to build up the skill that's going to get you to the sort of master level of making comics on your own, which, you know, maybe we never get to a master level. But check in that for the next video, and we'll start with some like cartooning basics, so you can get started making your own characters and finding inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and follow us at